Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. This is Todd with Industrial Comfort. So we had a friend over the other day that was giving us a hand with something, and in the process he happened to comment on how much he liked a cutting board just like this one that we have in our house of the State of Vermont. So I thought, hey, it'd be a really cool video to show people how to make a cutting board like this. So I made it from a template like this. Now, unfortunately, I don't show you how to make the template, but I explain how to make it in the video, and it's fairly straightforward and easy if you have the right tools. Now, keep in mind, you can make any design you want. The process will be the same for creating a beautiful cutting board like this. So let me show you how to make it. Now, the first thing I'm going to do for this project is create a cutting board. Now, I've got some extra stock laying around. I've got some maple, some walnut, some oak. I'm going to cut it to size, and I'm shooting for a cutting board that's going to be approximately 1 inch thick. Once that's done, we'll go ahead and we'll glue up the boards. I've got my saw guide set to 1 1/4 inches, and I realized a minute ago I said that we were looking for a board that's approximately 1 inch thick. Now, the reason I added an extra 1/4 of an inch is to allow some accommodation once we start planing and flattening the board, because that will remove some material. Now, the thickness of these boards, which is going to define the striations in the cutting board, is entirely up to you. Now, these happen to be 3/4 inch stock, and I'm going to leave them as is. For the walnut and the oak, I'll probably vary the cuts just to add a little bit of variation to the cutting board. So let's get cutting. I now have all the wood cut to size. Now, I want to make sure that I have coverage for the template. Now, unfortunately, I don't show you how to make the template in this video. However, all you need to do is go to the internet and find a shape that you're looking for the cutting board that you desire. Now, in this case, I'm using the State of Vermont. So I printed it to a size that I felt was appropriate for a cutting board or serving tray, which is approximately 10 by 14 inches. I then glued the paper to a piece of 1/4 inch plywood. I then used a bandsaw to cut around the edges to create the template. Now, you can use a handsaw, a jigsaw, a scroll saw, anything that you have laying around. Now, what I'm going to do is just make sure that it fits, and we've got complete coverage over the template. I'm then going to glue these boards up, and I'll show you how to cut out the shape using the template that I just showed you. Okay, the glue has dried on this cutting board, so the next thing we're going to do is flatten it. And I've got a jig that I'm going to use with the planer, and I've got a hot glue gun and some playing cards, and I'll show you how to use this jig. Because you got to remember, when you use a planer, if you don't use a jig to get a perfectly flat, level surface as a reference, all the planer is doing is reducing material. And so this will allow us to get that reference surface so that we can flip it over and then get a perfectly flat surface on the other side. Now, before I show you how to use that, I'm just going to go ahead and knock down some of this dry glue so that we don't damage the blades on the planer. Okay, so I've got the cutting board on the jig. And what I'm going to do is demonstrate how if I push my finger on different points of the board, you'll see that it rocks back and forth. So I'm going to use the playing cards that I just mentioned to put beneath the areas where there are gaps. This way, when it runs through the planer, when the planer pushes down, the board won't rock. I'm going to use this hot glue gun to keep the board in place along with the playing cards. That way, we're going to get a nice flat reference surface on top. We'll remove it from the jig, flip it over, rerun through the planer, and that'll give us two perfectly flat parallel surfaces. The board is set up on the jig, so we're ready to start running it through the planer. The cutting board now has a flat surface, so I'm going to remove from the jig, flip it over, and then we'll rerun through the planer to get a perfectly flat surface on both sides before we start cutting out our State of Vermont. With the board now flat, the next step is to cut the State of Vermont from the board using this template that I showed you earlier. And I'm going to mount it to the board using this double-sided wood tape. Now before I do that, I'm going to cut a straight line across at a 90-degree angle so that when I mount this template, the lines will be straight down the State. Now, I already have a flat side here and here, so as long as I mount this to the back of the miter saw, I'll get a perfectly straight cut at 90 degrees. So let's cut that up, and then we'll mount the template and get cutting. So the bandsaw got us our rough cut around the template. I'm now over at the router table where we're going to do the finishing cut to get a much cleaner profile of the State of Vermont on this board. Now, I'm using one of these flush cut bits. Now you'll see that this bit has a bearing on top. Now the bearing is meant to ride along the side of the template, and the cutting blades will remove all the material beneath the bearing. So we'll get a perfect outline cut onto the board from this template. Now, the board ended up being thicker than an inch, and my bits are only an inch. So I'm going to use a flush cut from the bottom, followed by a flush cut on top, and we'll just flip the board over and use the template on the bottom and the top to get the cut that we're looking for. With the board now cut, I'm going to remove the template and bring back over to the router table and use one of these round over bits. Now this will soften the edges and give the edges a more rounded appearance. So the board is cut and the edges all cleaned up and routed. The next step will be to sand this thing down. I just finished hitting this with 120 grit sandpaper, and if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that at this stage, I generally add moisture to the surface of the cutting board. Now what this will do is raise the grain that we've already knocked down with the 120 grit sandpaper. That way we'll then progress to 240 grit, which will knock the grain down again on our way up to 400, which will provide for a much smoother surface once we go to apply the mineral oil. All right, the sanding is done, so we're on to the final step, which is also my favorite step, adding the finish, which is really going to bring this board to life. I'm going to use some mineral oil because it's very cheap, it's very easy to apply, and it's food safe. There are a number of other options you can use, including things like walnut oil and wax, but again, mineral oil is sort of foolproof. So let's go ahead and get this thing coated and we'll call it a wrap. And here's our Vermont State cutting or serving board. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And don't forget, you can apply this same technique for any design you want for your cutting or serving board. Thanks for watching.